I, 23-year-old female, am very close with my cousin, 20-year-old male. We were raised together, so we are pretty much like siblings. When I turned 18, I moved away from home, and so we rarely see each other anymore. During a FaceTime last week, I proposed the idea that he flies out to my home to stay for a long weekend, and we can catch up. I bought the plane ticket in full myself, but he does plan to pay for half of it. I already have the time off work approved for when he gets here, and I've been planning fun activities for us to do when he arrives. Here's where I might be the jerk. I live in a very popular vacation spot. Yesterday, he asked me if one of his friends could join him for the trip to my home, and that he already invited her. I told him I haven't seen him in over 2 years and wanted to spend this limited time with him. I also expressed that I am not comfortable housing a stranger in my small home. I've only got 2 bedrooms. After I explained this to him, he left me on red all day. He just texted me back, saying that his friend's mom went ahead and bought her a plane ticket here anyways, and they are both fully expecting me to pick her up and house her for the duration of the trip. I told my cousin that his friend needs to look into securing sleeping and transportation accommodations or get a plane ticket refund, as I will not be providing her a place to stay or transportation around to activities. He is very upset with me that I would ruin his friend's surprise vacation by not allowing her free accommodation in my home. I feel as though they lied to the friend's mother about the circumstances, because there's no way her mom surprised her with only a ticket for the exact days I planned for my cousin to stay here, or why they would tell the mother that her daughter would have a place to go after I explicitly said no. Would I be the jerk if I cancel his plane ticket? Quick edit: the friend is not his girlfriend. He has a long-term boyfriend who he has been with for almost 3 years, and he is openly gay. Edit 2. Thank you to the majority of you all. I took your advice and explained to my cousin how I feel being a glorified Airbnb driver for him and his friend is not what I planned for this trip. I told him it was inconsiderate to lead his friend to believe that I would house her without knowing her, that she needs to look into accommodations and get a refund on her ticket. He said he will talk to her and he apologized for the situation, but I'm not sure what the outcome will be. We'll update when he responds. Update 1. I've decided not to cancel, but some clarification. This is not a budget shared time. He's paying for half his ticket. I am paying for food, gas, activities, shopping. I am better off financially than my family, but I am not rich. I make maybe $65,000 a year in America, so I had to save up for this. The activities I've booked can't be edited to add or remove participants, and they are all over $100 per person. His friend cannot afford it, so if she was here, she would literally be sitting alone in the car for half the damn time. It's too hot to take the keys, she'd bake. And I don't trust a random person I've never met with my running car unsupervised. For those of you that want to imply nefarious activities between me and my cousin, it feels like y'all are projecting. Have you never spent time with a sibling or cousin alone? Were you guys constantly fighting urges when you weren't alone? It's weird to assume out of the blue without any foundation. Also, he is gay. We both currently are in relationships. I have not heard back from him yet about what will happen with the friend's plane ticket / she's coming with her own accommodations. In the future, I am not opposed to her coming once I meet her, and if I have time to properly plan for it, and if she has time to save up for her portion of activities. As stated in the original post, this was an impulsive invitation, so it's been maybe a week since it was planned. Neither of them have jobs, so it's very safe to assume this girl has no money saved up for this, and it is very expensive here. While the timing was impulsive, I do have a savings I keep, just for this reason when family visits. Spending on her will effectively take away the opportunity of a future catch-up holiday with another family member. She is not my priority over family. Now, for a few comments before the update. Comment 1. He had already invited her. That's the crux of the thing right there. Cousin needs to learn some manners. Please teach them. The universe will thank you, not the idiot. Comment 2. Not the idiot. You tried to do something nice, and now your cousin and his friend want to take advantage of you. Now, for the update. Hey everyone, thanks for reading my last post. So, it's been a week since I told my cousin his friend couldn't stay with us. I thought I'd share what's happened since then because, honestly, it's been a mess. First off, my cousin finally got back to me. He said he talked to his friend and explained the situation. She was pretty upset, but she understood and started looking for a hotel. I felt bad for her, but I also felt relieved that I wouldn't have to deal with a stranger in my house. But then, things took a turn. My cousin's boyfriend reached out to me. He was really nice about it and said he understood my point of view. He also mentioned that my cousin had been acting a bit off lately and he was worried. That got me thinking. I didn't want to cause any trouble between them, so I decided to give my cousin a call. We talked for a long time. He admitted he was stressed about money and felt like he was letting his friend down. I reassured him that it wasn't his fault and that I was still excited for him to visit. We ended the call on good terms, or so I thought. The next day, I got a call from the friend's mom. She was furious. She accused me of ruining her daughter's vacation and demanded that I let her stay with me. I was shocked. I tried to explain the situation, but she wouldn't listen. I hung up feeling really shaken. I didn't know what to do. I was worried this was going to ruin my relationship with my cousin. But then, I remembered something my cousin's boyfriend had said about him acting off. I decided to do some digging. I checked the airline website and found out that the friend's ticket was refundable. I also found out that the hotel she was supposedly staying at had a free cancellation policy. It seemed like they had a backup plan all along. I called my cousin again and confronted him. He finally broke down and admitted that he and his friend had been planning to surprise me by having her stay at a nearby hotel and join us for some of the activities. He thought it would be a fun surprise. I was hurt that he'd gone behind my back, but I also felt bad for him. He was just trying to make everyone happy. We agreed to move forward and try to make the best of the situation. He said he'd pay for his friend's hotel, and I agreed to let her join us for a couple of activities that didn't require advance booking. The day finally arrived for my cousin to fly out. I picked him up from the airport, and we had a great time catching up. His friend joined us for dinner one night, and she was actually really nice. I could see why my cousin wanted her to come. But then, on the last day, something unexpected happened. My cousin's boyfriend showed up. He'd flown out to surprise my cousin and join us for the last couple of days. My cousin was over the moon. It was really sweet to see them together. As for the friend, she ended up meeting some people at her hotel and spent most of her time with them. It worked out perfectly. She had a great vacation, and my cousin and I got to spend some quality time together. In the end, justice was served in its own subtle way. My cousin learned that honesty is the best policy, and I learned that sometimes surprises can be good, even if they don't start out that way. It was a stressful week, but it all worked out in the end. Now, for the comments. Comment 1. Oh man, this reminds me of when my sister's friend tried to crash at my place without asking. I felt like a hotel manager. It's tough when people assume you're okay with plans you didn't agree to. Setting boundaries is super important, even with family. Comment 2. Sounds like communication was a big issue here. Maybe for future visits, set up a group chat to discuss plans ahead of time. That way, everyone's on the same page and there's less chance for misunderstandings or surprises. Plus, it can help manage expectations and make things smoother. Now, for the next story. I, 49-year-old male, have 4 kids, twin boys, both 27 years old, one girl, 25 years old, and another son, 21 years old. This post is about my youngest son, Jack. Since they were children, I promised my kids 2 things. 1, I will fully pay for all of their college expenses, housing, tuition, food, etc. And 2, once they graduate college, I will buy them a car. I kept that promise for all my kids, except with Jack. Now I want to know if I am a jerk for that. I paid for Jack's college expenses, but I am refusing to buy him a car. Below are some of the reasons why. 1, I co-signed my name on the lease for Jack's room that he rents with a friend, and I send Jack his portion of the rent every month. The friend started taking advantage of my name being on the lease and stopped paying for rent as well, knowing I will cover the amount because I don't want missed payments on my credit score. I asked Jack multiple times to ask his roommate to pay his portion, but the boy did not care to even respond to me. And I ended up paying for 6 months of his friend's rent too, until I finally solved the problem by getting my name out of the lease. 2. Jack has a very rude and entitled attitude. He speaks to us like we are his low-performing employees. The only time he contacts us is when he wants money and goes no contact otherwise, and we don't know what we ever did to him to treat us that way. 3. Last year, when my wife had to be hospitalized, all of my kids flew back home to be there for their mother. Jack didn't want to, but one of his siblings bought him a ticket and talked him into flying out. Instead of being glad to be beside his very sick mother at the hospital, he spent the entire visit making everyone run errands for him. His sister had to cook a very specific type of meal for him. We had to drive him to the gym at a very specific time he demanded, etc., and acted like it was one huge inconvenience for him to have to fly out. I even talked to my other kids about whether we were bad parents that caused Jack to act this way. But all my other kids don't know why he ended up so entitled and spoiled. The rest of my kids are extremely different from Jack. We all get along with each other and care about one another. For the rest of my kids, I spent maybe $100,000 on each kid's total college expenses. With Jack's careless spending habits and unwillingness to save us any money, Jack's college years ended up costing me $180,000. So I refused to buy the promised car. Jack is upset and has gone to his grandparents complaining about me. My mother-in-law already hates me and now is calling me a jerk, saying I am playing favorites because I bought everyone a car except Jack. Now, for a few comments before the update. Comment 1. Mother-in-law can buy him a car if she cares that much. You've done more for him than most parents even dream of. He's rude, spoiled, and entitled, and he doesn't deserve anything more from you. Comment 2. Everyone sucks here. You raised a spoiled butt, and while you're not obligated to buy him a car, you should have forewarned him that dealing with the rent issues meant no car. Now, for the update. So it's been 3 days since I last posted about the situation with my son Jack and the car promise. You guys wouldn't believe how things have turned out. First off, Jack came over the day after I posted. He was fuming, saying he heard from his friend that I was talking about him online. I didn't even tell his friend about the post, so I have no clue how that happened. Jack was yelling about how I broke my promise and how I was the worst dad ever. I tried to stay calm, but it was tough. Then, my daughter Sarah showed up out of nowhere. She heard Jack yelling from outside and came in to see what was going on. She tried to mediate the situation, but Jack was having none of it. He stormed out, saying he was done with all of us. The next day, things got even crazier. My wife found out that Jack's roommate had been paying his share of the rent all along. Jack had been pocketing the money I sent for his roommate's rent. I couldn't believe it. I felt so betrayed. My wife was heartbroken, and we had no idea how to confront him about it. But wait, there's more. Later that day, my oldest son Mike called me. He said he needed to talk in person. When he arrived, he told me something that knocked the wind out of me. He had been covering for Jack's expenses for the past year without telling us. He didn't want Jack to feel left out because he knew we were struggling financially. Mike had even bought the plane ticket for Jack when my wife was in the hospital. I was speechless. I didn't know what to do with all this information. I felt like I didn't even know my own kids anymore. My wife and I spent the whole night talking about it. We decided we had to sit down with Jack and have a serious conversation. So we called a family meeting for the next day. Everyone came, even Jack, though he looked like he didn't want to be there. We started talking, and it was rough. Voices were raised and tears were shed. Jack finally broke down and admitted everything. He said he felt like he was always in the shadow of his siblings and that he just wanted to prove he could make it on his own. He apologized for lying and for taking the money. But here's the twist. While we were all focused on Jack, Sarah suddenly said she had something to confess too. She had been the one who told Jack's friend about my post. She said she was tired of the tension in the family and thought it would force a confrontation to clear the air. I couldn't believe it. My own daughter, stirring the pot like that. The meeting ended with no real resolution. Jack said he'd pay back the money, but there's still so much tension. My wife and I are exhausted, and we're not sure where to go from here. We just want our family to be whole again, but it feels like every time we take a step forward, we take 2 steps back. I don't know what's going to happen next, but I do know that we can't go on like this. We're going to have to work through this mess somehow. Thanks for listening, guys. I just needed to get this off my chest. Now for the comments. Comment 1. Hey, it sounds like you're really trying to navigate a tough family situation. It's good that you're willing to have a family meeting and address the issues head on. Remember, it's important to set boundaries, especially with finances. It's okay to support your kids, but they also need to learn responsibility. Comment 2. I've been in a similar boat with my sibling hiding financial troubles. It's a rough ride, but confronting the problem is the first step. It took us a few family talks and some tough love, but we eventually got to a better place. Hang in there and keep those lines of communication open. Now, for the next story. I'm 28 years old male. My mother died shortly after I was born. My dad married Tina, not her real name, when I was 7. She had a daughter, Diana, also 7, from a previous relationship. Diana and I did not get along. She was spoiled and resented not being the only child anymore. She took her frustrations out on me by breaking my toys, stealing my things, and lying to get me in trouble. When I complained to Dad and Tina, they told me to get over it. If I did the same, I would get punished. It only got worse as we got older. I felt abandoned by my dad and often felt lonely in my house. So I guess you guys can see who the favorite child was. At 16, Diana spread a nasty rumor about me in school, and I almost got expelled. Diana got caught lying and got suspended. Of course, Dad and Tina blamed me for this. That was the last straw for me. I called my cousin Shyla from my mother's side and told her what had been happening. She came over to my house angry at Tina and Dad. She gave them a piece of her mind. Dad said if it bothered her so much, then she was welcome to have me. It broke my heart to hear my own dad say that to me. So Shyla and I packed my things. Diana's room was open, and she was sitting on her bed smirking at me. We got my things, and we left. I haven't looked back since. Over the years, Dad and even Diana tried to contact me, but I would block all their attempts. Now, a week ago, Shyla visited me. She told me that she got a message from Dad for me. I was surprised she even mentioned Dad, since she knew how I felt about him. She told me that Diana was in a fatal accident and didn't make it. She said he was wanting to talk to me. Shyla handed me his number and said it's up to me. I called him out of curiosity, more than anything. He didn't even recognize my voice. But when I told him it was me, he broke down crying, and most of the time I couldn't make sense of what he was saying. When he calmed down, he said my sister died and it's time to come back home and make things right with each other. I asked what sister. I have no sister. He started crying and saying, "Don't do this. She doesn't deserve this." This enraged me, and I just let out all my anger, hurt, and frustration I had felt towards them, and ended with, "I don't care if she had died." My girlfriend, who was beside me, took my phone off me and ended the call for me. I'm glad she did, before I had said any more. She told me later that I could have been more understanding. I've had time to think and wonder if she is right, and am I the idiot? Now, for a few comments before the update. Comment 1. Not the idiot. Your father is acting like now that the golden child is dead, they have a vacancy, and all will be forgotten if you just pretend nothing ever happened and come home. Comment 2. Not the idiot. But why does he beg now? Just when the stepdaughter died. Call me heartless, but I won't give a frick about them if I were you. Now for the update. So it's been a week since that call with my dad, and man, it's been a ride. I've been trying to keep my head straight, but things just keep getting crazier. After I hung up on my dad, I was fuming for days. My girlfriend kept trying to talk to me about it, saying maybe I should give him a chance to explain himself. But I wasn't having any of it. I was done with all of them, or so I thought. A couple of days later, I got a text from an unknown number. It was a picture of Diana in the hospital, hooked up to all these machines. I couldn't believe it. The text said, "She's asking for you." My heart dropped. I showed my girlfriend, and she was as shocked as I was. We both thought Diana was gone, but there she was, alive. I didn't know what to do. I was angry, confused, and a part of me felt guilty for what I had said to my dad. My girlfriend said maybe this was a sign, a chance to fix things. I didn't want to admit it, but part of me agreed with her. I decided to call the number back. It was Tina on the other end. She was crying, saying Diana had been in a coma and they didn't think she'd make it, but she just woke up. Tina begged me to come to the hospital. I didn't say yes, but I didn't say no either. I just hung up. The next day, I couldn't stop thinking about it. I told my girlfriend I needed to go for a walk to clear my head. I ended up walking to the hospital. I don't even know how I got there. My feet just took me. I walked into Diana's room, and there she was, so small and pale in the bed. She looked at me, and I saw something I never saw before. Fear. She was scared. She whispered my name, and I just lost it. I started crying right there. We didn't say much, just sat there in silence. After a while, I stepped out of the room, and there was my dad and Tina. My dad looked old, older than I remembered. He tried to talk to me, but I just couldn't deal with it. I told him I needed time and left. I've been back to see Diana every day since. We don't talk about the past. It's like we're strangers trying to be friends. It's weird, but it's something. Then yesterday, the biggest bombshell dropped. Tina pulled me aside and told me something I never knew. Diana wasn't just my stepsister. She was my half-sister. My dad had an affair with Tina while my mom was still alive, and Diana was the result. My mom found out, and that's when she got sick. It was all too much for her. I didn't know how to react. I was angry, sad, and felt betrayed all over again. But looking at Diana, I couldn't hate her. It wasn't her fault. We were both just kids caught up in our parents' mess. I haven't told Diana what Tina told me. I don't know if I should. It's a lot to process. I'm not sure where to go from here. My girlfriend says I need to talk to my dad, but I don't know if I'm ready for that. So yeah, that's where I'm at. It's been a week, and my whole world has turned upside down. I've got a sister I never knew I had, and a family that's more broken than I thought. I'm just trying to take it one day at a time. Now, for the comments. Comment 1. Oh boy, your family's got more twists than a pretzel factory. But seriously, feelings are messy, and it's okay to be a hot mess while you sort this out. Just keep a box of tissues and some chocolate handy. Comment 2. Take a deep breath and maybe consider family therapy. It could help untangle those complicated feelings and give you some clarity on how to move forward with your dad and Diana. If you like this video, you'll probably like these too. Also, while you're here, please consider subscribing. It's your support that keeps this channel alive and allows me to make better and longer videos. Have a great day.